What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work to Game, and it is 5.05 day. So I'm going to go ahead and blast through these notes here, and we are going to get into this patch. So 5.05 is rounding out the last of our experience with 5.0 as we look forward to 5.1. Remember, the point 1 came out, I think it was October 10th for Stormblood, so it should come out around that October timeline. I wouldn't be shocked to see it push later into the month. I know Brian's willing to bet that it's all the way in November, and so we'll just have to kind of see as that gets closer what makes sense there. You are going to, of course, get new quests with this patch. The treasure hunt is one of the big ones, so those coffers are now there. You're going to be able to get into that instance like Uznair, so the map should go way up in value for those gatherers out there. Be sure you guys try this, because the loot in there should be well worth the cost of the maps, especially if you get into a group of 8 where you just do everybody's map once. You're all getting 8 times the loot instead of you just getting the one map. There's going to be some new craftable items tied to free companies. There's going to be new things for the submarine things there. So it's nice to see them continuing to support those voyages. New housing furnishes, new orchestrant scrolls. These are pretty typical things that we get with patches, so they are exciting, but nothing crazy. This is the first big round of battle system changes. It's a pretty big list, so I'm going to kind of pause here. Monk, you've got some effect duration increases, and then Ninja got a potency increase. Samurai has had some cast times reduced to instant and some recast times reduced. Machinist had a recast time reduced. Arcanist, you had some heavy recast time reductions all the way from 10 seconds down to 3. So those summoners, you should have quite a bit more to do there. The Red Mage, you had MP costs reduced, looks like across the board. That's a huge number of abilities to be affected. Scholar, you had a potency increase and a cast time reduction. Across the board, the majority of these look like buffs. Astro, you've got a potency increase and cast time being reduced. You have a huge number of skills affected. And Samurai and Scholar, you got some abilities added. So go ahead and open up your actions pane, check those out. Read your tooltips. Be sure you understand, even if you recognize this name and you're like, oh, I know what Energy Drain does. Just read your tooltips and make sure that it works the way you think it does. Healing actions performed outside of combat will no longer build the limit gauge. I assume that's something that shouldn't have been happening in the first place. That's kind of weird, that outside of combat you could just sit there and heal your way up to the limit. The Savage has been added, so this will appear in your raid finder. Those of you that are ready to go take this on, I think Frosty said there were like 80 teams in the quest for World First, and this is going to take 440, 445, and 450 for those last two. The last one is going to jump you from 90 minutes to 120, and unlike previous Savage raids, the treasure coffers are not going to yield armor and accessories. They are going to be dropping coffers. And so you're going to need to kind of do those weekly, and then the item exchange there is going to have you exchange these, and you can see that the coffer type is going to require a huge number of tokens, so like the weapons tied to 8. So Savage is meant to take a long time to gear out, it looks like. So we'll just have to see how long that takes people, but even if you're getting 4 a week, it's going to take time. So that's exciting. XP from trusts has been increased. So those of you that maybe have held off on leveling those, great news. Those of you that already capped all yours out to 80, I'm sorry. New elite marks have been added. We did get our Phantatomes, the Phantasmagoria. For those of you that this is your first expansion to be at cap, you get 400. You can get up to 450 of these a week. You want to cap every week, at least initially. Those are going to be what you use to gear out your main, and you're going to be buying things there in Yulmore for Phantatomes. The Goshatomes you're still going to use to gear out alts. There's crafting mats, I think, tied behind those and stuff like that. So there's always ways to kind of burn them. But just be sure that you switch over to this Phanta gear, and then the best way to get them during the 0.0 cycle is typically going to be just do your roulettes each day, and then they'll cap out. You can see that like your expert roulette gives 600 Gosha and then 40 Phantas a day. So that's already knocking out almost if you do that 7 days, that they're already knocking out almost 1/10 of it. So if you do it every day, just your expert roulette, you're almost capping. If you're then going on and doing like a leveling roulette as a capped character or a trial roulette as a capped character, you can see how you can actually cap these out in a lot less than 7 days. In addition to the normal, I think there's a drop rate tied with completing dungeons. It's been a while since we've had these. I definitely didn't farm them during the last patch of Stormblood, so it's just been a while. PvP actions. We've had some changes here, a lot of adjustments. HP increases on your tanks from 17,500 to 20,000. HP increase on your melee DPS from 15 to 17,500. And then we've had some cast times reduced on Samurai. Heavy metal and light metal have been removed. The number of metals held by a player can no longer cause heavy metal or light metal to be applied. So that's kind of a big change to Feast there. And we've had, of course, new items added. So this should be your Savage set or your Phanta set, one of the two. I assume there's been a bunch added. New recipes added. There were already items in game that did not have uses. So gatherers, be sure that you're checking the value of everything that you have listed. It's quite possible that you were listing things that were just selling to people stockpiling it. If you weren't keeping track of which ones had uses and didn't have uses, and those items may have gone up or down as now there's actually a demand, and so supply should be able to better set a price. There's been new master recipes added. There's been this cool new mount. It says new mounts, plural, added. New minions added. All typical things with a patch cycle. There's been a new achievements and titles, which we can assume at least have to deal with Savage and the new map and things like that. There's been another summoning bell added there in Crystarium. This looks like it's out by the Crystalline Mean, which has been something that every time I'm in the Crystalline Mean, I'm like, man, they could really use a summoning bell right here. But that picture looks like Crystalline Mean to me. And then we have some resolved issues. And that is it, guys. So welcome to 5.05. We will be sprinting from here to 5.1. Finish up leveling up those alts and now start gearing your main. So that could be through Savage, that could be through anything like Phantatomes or anything like that. Check in with crafters and see what they got added, because that could be a pretty big list. We'll just have to kind of see as people cap those out, since it's not listed here and I don't have my crafters at cap. So I am looking forward to diving into this with you guys. I cannot wait to see what all this means. The patch notes are relatively short and brief and nothing surprising here. It doesn't mean the content can't be incredibly rewarding. My name is Chris with Work to Game. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. What is Work to Game? 30 seconds, go! Work to Game is basically a channel where we talk about video games, anything we like about video games. We sometimes post vlog videos about something else that we just want to talk about. We kind of have a schedule. It changes all the time. It's in the About section on YouTube. We also stream over on Twitch just anytime we want to play games. Right now, it's happening more and more. I don't know what's happening at the time you watch this video, but the best thing you could do is click on the About page and kind of see if there's a rough plan that we have here